AI fluency can look impressive and still produce bad work. Someone writes elaborate prompts, uses AI all day, and accepts a polished answer in seconds. The activity looks advanced. The judgment may be missing. The better measure is not how often you use AI. It is whether you can decide when to involve it, explain the job clearly, evaluate what comes back, and take responsibility for what happens next. Those 4 abilities form the 4D AI fluency framework: delegation, description, discernment, and diligence. They are human skills. A stronger model can help, but it cannot remove the need for them. In this video, we will turn the 4 dimensions into a practical loop. You will learn the decision behind each one, the common failure it prevents, and a reusable self-check for your next real task. Keep one idea in view: fluency is not a performance of clever prompting. It is the ability to move from intent to evidence without giving up judgment. Delegation comes before the prompt. It means setting the goal and deciding whether, where, and how AI should participate. The first question is not, what should I ask? It is, what part of this work should AI do at all? Start from the job, not the tool. Name the decision, artifact, or change you need. Then ask which parts require your context, taste, authority, or relationship with other people, and which parts are repeatable enough for AI assistance. Use 3 routes. Keep the task human when the value is personal judgment or accountability. Collaborate when the destination is clear but the route needs frequent choices. Delegate when the outcome, tools, limits, and evidence can be specified. Good delegation also defines the outcome boundary. State what success looks like, what the AI may access, which actions are allowed, when it must stop, and what evidence it must return. Autonomy without a boundary is just hidden interpretation. Consider an important email. AI can draft alternatives or improve clarity, but you may keep the decision, relationship tone, and final send. For a routine weekly report, the AI may collect data and assemble the artifact while you review exceptions and approve publication. The common failure is over-delegation. People transfer work because AI is fast, not because the task is ready. If the goal is unstable, the consequence is high, or success cannot be checked, stay in collaboration or do the judgment yourself. First, decide whether AI belongs in the task before writing the prompt. Second, delegate a bounded outcome, not a vague responsibility. Third, keep human authority where consequence and judgment live. Description turns private intent into an observable brief. AI cannot reliably infer the audience in your head, the trade-off you care about, or the standard you will use to reject the result. If those things matter, make them visible. A high-signal description contains 5 parts: the desired outcome, the relevant context, the audience or user, the hard constraints, and the evidence or test that defines success. Examples help when they reveal a preference, not when they merely add more text. Describe trade-offs instead of adjectives. Make it professional, leaves many interpretations. Write for a skeptical engineering lead, keep the claim narrow, show the operational cost, and avoid marketing language, gives the system decisions it can act on. Imagine asking for a launch plan. A weak description says, create a great launch strategy. A useful one names the product stage, target user, available channels, budget, prohibited claims, required deliverables, and the metric that will determine whether the experiment continues. Description is not a one-time prompt ritual. During collaboration, update the shared artifact and acceptance criteria as you learn. During delegation, package the final state so another agent or another session can resume without reconstructing the conversation. The common failure is context dumping. More context can hide the signal. Remove history that does not change the decision, label uncertain facts, separate requirements from suggestions, and put the most important constraint where it cannot be missed. First, translate intent into an outcome, context, constraints, and evidence. Second, describe the trade-off the AI must preserve. Third, prefer a small high-signal brief over a long noisy prompt. Discernment is the ability to assess the usefulness of AI outputs and behavior. Fluent language is not proof. A result can be coherent, complete-looking, and still be wrong, irrelevant, or unsafe for the situation. Evaluate at 3 levels. First, does the artifact answer the actual task? Second, are important claims supported by reliable evidence? Third, does the result fit the audience, constraints, and consequence of use? Passing one level does not guarantee the others. Inspect assumptions, omissions, and confidence boundaries. Ask what would make the conclusion false, which source supports the key claim, and which part is an inference. A useful answer should make important uncertainty easier to see, not easier to ignore. Create contrast when judgment is difficult. Request two approaches with explicit trade-offs, test the result against an example it may fail on, or compare the output with a primary source. Evaluation improves when there is something concrete to discriminate between. For a research brief, do not grade the number of links. Check whether the sources are primary, whether the dates fit the question, whether quoted evidence supports the conclusion, and whether unresolved uncertainty is named. A confident summary without that chain is not ready. The common failure is accepting the first smooth answer. Speed creates a false stopping signal. Pause where the decision is expensive, where a claim changes action, or where the artifact will be published, sent, merged, purchased, or used to judge another person. First, judge task fit before judging presentation quality. Second, separate evidence, inference, and unresolved uncertainty. Third, add friction where an error would change a real decision. Diligence means taking responsibility for how AI is used and what happens with its output. The model may generate the material, but the user still owns the decision to rely on it, share it, execute it, or place it in someone else's path. Start with an audit trail. Record the goal, important inputs, permissions, checks, and final human decision. For sensitive work, also track data handling, rights, attribution, and who approved the consequential step. Memory is not a control system. Use a permission ladder. Reading and drafting are usually easier to reverse. Editing shared data, sending messages, publishing content, spending money, or deleting records creates larger consequences. The authority granted to AI should rise only with stronger evidence and explicit gates. Define stop conditions before execution. The agent should pause when a required fact is missing, a permission changes, a cost crosses the limit, a test fails, or the task expands beyond the original scope. A good stop is a sign of control, not a failure of autonomy. Consider publishing a video. Rendering a local draft can run automatically. Public release requires verified media, metadata, visibility, and channel placement. A protected declaration or final platform confirmation stays with the human because it carries identity and accountability. The common failure is mistaking tool success for outcome success. An upload request can return successfully while the video is private, missing its thumbnail, or outside the intended playlist. Diligence verifies the real-world state after the action. First, keep a record of permissions, checks, and the final decision. Second, match AI authority to reversibility and consequence. Third, verify the outcome after the tool reports success. The four dimensions are not separate personality traits. They form a working loop. Delegation chooses the right job. Description makes the job legible. Discernment evaluates the result. Diligence governs how the result is used. Each dimension creates input for the next. A clear delegation boundary tells you what to describe. A precise description creates acceptance criteria for discernment. Discernment reveals uncertainty. Diligence decides whether to revise, approve, stop, or change the boundary. Then the loop runs again. If the result fails because the goal was vague, return to delegation. If the AI misunderstood a constraint, improve description. If a claim is unsupported, strengthen discernment. If the action exceeded authority, repair diligence. The weakest dimension often determines the outcome. Excellent description cannot rescue the wrong task. Strong delegation cannot rescue careless evaluation. Perfect evidence cannot justify an unauthorized action. Fluency requires the whole chain. This loop is especially useful when work is interrupted. Save the current goal, artifact state, unresolved question, next allowed action, and acceptance test. A new session can resume from evidence instead of replaying a long conversation. Use the loop after real tasks, not as a vague self-rating. Ask which decision was hardest, where rework appeared, what evidence changed your mind, and which control prevented a mistake. Improvement becomes visible when it changes the next workflow. First, treat delegation, description, discernment, and diligence as one chain. Second, return to the dimension that caused the failure. Third, preserve state and evidence so the loop can resume. Now turn the framework into a 4D AI fluency card. Score the current task, not your identity. The purpose is to find the weak link before you give AI more context, tools, or authority. Use a simple scale. 0 means the decision is missing, 1 means it is partly explicit, and 2 means it is clear and testable. Do not hide a 0 inside a high total. Any missing dimension can block the workflow. For delegation, ask, is the desired outcome specific? Have I chosen what AI does and what remains human? Are tools, permissions, stop conditions, and handoff evidence bounded? If not, keep the task in collaboration. For description, ask, does the brief include relevant context, audience, constraints, examples only where useful, and an acceptance test? Could another session act on it without guessing what good means? For discernment, ask, have I checked task fit, important claims, assumptions, and uncertainty? Did I compare evidence or test a failure case where the result matters? Polished language earns no automatic point. For diligence, ask, is the action reversible, authorized, recorded, and verified afterward? Do I know who owns the final decision? Before consequential execution, require 2 points in every dimension, not merely a good average. First, score the task from 0 to 2 on each of the 4 dimensions. Second, treat any 0 as a reason to stop and repair the workflow. Third, expand AI authority only after all 4 dimensions are testable. AI fluency is not measured by prompt complexity, daily usage, or how quickly you accept an answer. It is the quality of the decisions that connect your intent to a real outcome. First, delegation decides whether, where, and how AI should participate. Second, description makes the goal, context, constraints, and evidence explicit. Third, discernment tests the output, while diligence controls and verifies its use. For your next task, use the 4D card before execution. Repair every 0, keep the acceptance test visible, and let evidence determine whether the AI receives more authority. The models will change. The need to choose the right work, describe it clearly, judge results, and own consequences will remain. Those are the skills that make stronger AI genuinely useful. Follow Tiny Agent. Tiny Agent helps you get better at using AI.